THRAWN calls to me. Across time and space.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. WookieLeaks is back, baby! And we got Star Wars' newest show, AHSOKA, starting off with a bang, or maybe a stab. Sending AHSOKA, Sabine, and Harrison Dula hurtling towards something called the Eye of Sion. Are we going to be bridging through spanning galaxies and time? What are the fairy tales of the Star Wars universe? So many interesting, provocative questions coming out of this episode, these first two episodes of AHSOKA, because that's what we're talking about here. This is the Breakroom presents WookieLeaks! It's our weekly AHSOKA after show. I'm Eric Voss. Joining me to talk about these first two episodes of AHSOKA right here, right now, Tommy Bechtold.
What's up, Wookiee freaks? I've missed you all so much, my leakers, my freakers, my double deekers, my triple deekers for those Mighty Duck fans.
My Bunsen and Beakers.
Yes, and my tiny little squeakers. All right, now, we had a great time watching these first two episodes. Again, just always as a quick disclaimer, this is our reaction, our editorial to these episodes. These are not paid promotions. We have no money from the studio. We're not promoting it. We're not telling you to watch. This is just simply our experience from watching. We stand with the WGA. We stand with SAG. Let's get it going. First of all, let's talk about these sweet-ass shirts we're wearing.
Yeah, so these shirts, you can get them over at nerdriot.shop.
That's right.
We got these baseball-themed designs.
Yeah.
Tommy's wearing a limited edition one with Kashyyyk with only two Ys.
Yes.
But I think the corrected Kashyyyk, so you don't look like a real moof milker, is available on the site.
I prefer mine with a little error. And also, Eric, you said baseball, but we also have some football ringer tees available.
Hell yes.
With the rings on them. These are just in time for what I call peak sports. You've got the MLB playoffs, you've got the NFL season, college football season. The NBA schedule was just released yesterday. Lakers versus Nuggets, opening day. Hello, redemption is the dish best served in November. Anyway,
we got there.
Yeah, get your sports shirts from nerdriot.shop, and just remember, when you buy one from us, you're sticking it to the big corporations anyway, because they don't get any money from this.
Not 1 cent. And hey, so remember, New Rockstars is a network. Please subscribe to all three channels in the New Rockstars network. And if you're going into this show feeling like, I don't know who these characters are, the main channel is in the middle of our Rebels rewatch series. Yes. So as of this recording, you should be able to see the first two seasons of Rebels.
Yes. Oh yeah.
So that breaks down everything you need to know coming out of that show. But even though AHSOKA episodes are now coming out, we're still gonna follow through because it's gonna be a nice companion series. So our breakdown of season 3 and our breakdown of season 4 will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. So just keep an eye out on those. But here we're gonna talk about AHSOKA. AHSOKA episode 1.
That's right.
AHSOKA episode 2.
Yes.
2 amazingly directed episodes.
Really. I mean, I gotta say, we've been pretty honest about some of these Star Wars Disney Plus shows when they let us down and when they raise us up. But so far I say 2 for 2 on this one.
2 for 2. Yeah. And you know what? The episode 1, this was directed by Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Some of us were talking before we started recording. This might be our favorite thing that Dave Filoni has directed because he's been a great animator, a great world builder, a good writer. Not a good writer of dialogue, I would say.
No, excellent voicer of Chopper, especially when you can tell when he's saying it's an F word and they barely change it out.
In episode 2, where he's like going through all this crap, and she's like, I didn't go through your stuff. He's like, well, sure did.
Yeah.
Like he's so pissed off. Anyway, let's talk about what happens in these episodes, starting from the beginning.
AHSOKA, you're telling me there's a chance. We open with a red Lucasfilm logo over. Oh, yeah, I like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but wasn't that great?
Yes, it was amazing. Over Kevin Kiner's terrific score. Kevin Kiner, just absolute legendary at this point with the Rebels, entire Rebels timeline, scoring all of those things. And then, Eric, we get an opening crawl.
An opening crawl, a red crawl, and not one that goes back into space, but just kind of goes up. I love this choice.
Yeah,
I love the red design. It kind of puts us in like a dark place.
It was like an homage, but it was haunting. It was a homage, a haunting homage, and it detailed AHSOKA's search for the map to possibly find Ezra and THRAWN. We then watch as a New Republic starship is boarded by 2 Jedi who turn out to be Baylan Skoll, played by Ray Stevenson, who sadly passed away earlier this year. And who the episode is dedicated to, and his apprentice, Shin Hati, played by Ivana Sakno. They are there to break out prisoner Morgan Elsbeth, played by Deanna Lee Inosanto, reprising a role from Mandalorian Season 2. Remember, they were fighting, she had that spear.
So great, yeah.
And if you can think back to those episodes, she gave us our first live-action mention of Thrawn, which was a bone-chilling when she was like kind of threatening Ahsoka. And she was, of course, detained by Ahsoka. We're seeing all this.
Ahsoka.
Did I say Ahsoka?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the wrestler. I'm so sorry. By Ahsoka. Thank you for the correction. Meanwhile, Ahsoka is already on her way, and she's made it to the location of the map, an old temple built by the witches of Dathomir with their creepy-ass voices. We didn't get the voices I wanted them.
But it was great. This confirmation, Danny Trejo mentioned the Witches of Dathomir in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
We know the Night Sisters were a thing, Mother Talzin. But the fact that Morgan Elsbeth is part of this cult, this coven of witches, such an exciting, there's so much cool world building happening on this show.
Also, those witches are just so creepy. Remember they took over Kanan and Sabine's bodies? They were like, they had the voices. So she navigates the temple like it's a puzzle in Tears of the Kingdom and manages to snag the map. I like that. I think all gamers saw that when she was rotating the discs and were like, yeah.
Yeah, there was episodes of Tomb Raider, games of Tomb Raider, Last Revelation, where you got to move the planets around.
And even Jedi Fallen Order, which is basically kind of, I think, an overlap of what are those games? The Explorer games where Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg were in the movie. Uncharted, yes. I always thought that those two games were spiritual siblings.
Sure.
She's ambushed by a group of HK-87 assassin droids sent by Balin and co. But she manages to escape with the help of Hu Yang, voiced by David Tennant, reprising his roles from Clone Wars. Now, when are we going to get David Tennant as a live-action Uncle Scrooge?
Oh, that'd be fun. They should call him Dr. Hu Yang.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a perfect. And having this, the casting's great. Bringing this character back, this historian of lightsabers, 500 years old, the droid on the Crucible, like such an important figure, specifically because the series seems to be looking at Jedi and maybe Sith history and prehistory to these characters.
It's such an interesting looking droid, right? Like, I mean, he's got like the kind of the protocol droid appearance, but he's got like I like to think of it as those people that have those giant waxed mustaches. That you see, like
it gives him some, he's got some gray hairs in his ears. He's seen some shit.
I love it, and I also love his personality. I love the droids that have personalities. They're just always way more fun. Ahsoka speaks briefly to Hera Syndulla, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who suggests she ask Sabine for help unlocking this map. Now, in the rubble of the temple, Balin and Shin are joined by Morgan, and we learn that she is, in fact, a descendant of the Witches of Dathomir, a.k.a. a Night Sister. Balin smartly sends Shin to Lothal to track down Ahsoka and Sabine. The game is on, folks. And we're back on Lothal. And oh my God, if you watch the Rebels cartoon at this point, you're just being overloaded with imagery. On Lothal, Clancy Brown has returned to play Governor Ryder Azadi. If we remember, the governor was in captivity. He's rescued by Kanan and co. Then he joins the rebellion out of obligation. He's like, you know what?
He was the prisoner who told Ezra what happened to his parents.
That's
the fact that Ezra had this broadcast that changed everything. This was the spark of the rebellion, was Ezra's broadcast. And Leia heard it. Like, everybody heard this, and he's the one who reported to Ezra, hey, this is what caused your parents to break out of prison. This is that rebellion led to their deaths. And it saddles Ezra with this guilt. Because he's like, yeah, well, great. It inspired my parents to break out of captivity, but it also led to their deaths. And it made him more vulnerable to dark side manipulation, in my opinion.
I agree. I think that's dead on. So he's leading a ceremony of some of the heroes of the rebellion, including Sabine Wren, who has conveniently disappeared. That's Sabine. She just won't play by the rules. She's not like other girls. And you know that means I like her. Yes, Jai Kell from Rebels.
They got Jai Kell in there, too.
He was, we just talked about
he was one of the
Dante
cadets.
Bosco, Rufio.
Yeah, Rufio voiced
in the
him.
show,
he was one of, when Ezra re-infiltrated the Imperial Academy, this was one of the other ones who's believed to be force sensitive. He's still there. He comes back, and now he's like, what would you call this? The press secretary?
No, he had a great name. I think his name was like Commander or something.
Okay.
He had an official title. Of course, a true researcher would have known it, it. But for me, I'll say it was like Commander, but probably press secretary. He was the Kellyanne Conway of this whole thing. So he has to vamp while he tries to find her, while everyone else, while other people are trying to find her. Sabine lives in an old communication tower with her loth cat. Now, do you think this was the same communication tower that Ezra lived in?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably multiple communication towers,
Yeah, right.
but...
It did seem to, at least it was an homage. Seems to have nightmares about finding Ezra. Now, Ahsoka lands on Lothal and asks Sabine if she can help her unlock the map. Sabine, being herself, takes off with the map and brings it back to her home where she is followed by Shin. This is not good. After unscrambling the map code, Sabine is attacked by more assassin droids. These assassin droids are badass.
They're great. This is exciting.
They're like the zombies that can run and climb.
She's fighting it with her bare hands.
Yeah.
And one thing I love about the show is all the metal, all the gear has weight.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
You can feel the weight of it. It feels so tactile and physical and practical.
It's no coffee cup people are carrying down a New York street in a movie where there's nothing in it. They're just
Right,
like
it's clear.
waving the coffee around. There's no-
Yeah, so when she is hitting this stuff, they have some sound effects.
Yeah.
It's like her hands must be bruised,
Yeah.
or she's just got hands.
The Foley art, the sound department on this did a great job. And then she faces off in this great lightsaber duel with Shin. Now, here's what I liked about this, Eric. It's clear that Sabine's kind of like lack of training from Ahsoka in actual, I mean, we saw her train with the Darksaber and she got pretty good with the Darksaber, but her lack of training with Ahsoka, I think you could tell she was clearly inferior to Shin in this lightsaber battle, which makes the race for Ahsoka being radioed in for backup all the more stressful, but she's too late. Shin stabs Sabine through the abdomen and takes off with the map.
And wasn't it great just to see like the specific moves she was doing? She was doing the overhead kind of tomahawk chop, which is what you do if you want a lot of power, but if you are unskilled, that is a dumb move.
And you're opening up,
move.
I mean, any sword fighting.
You leave yourself exposed, and it's just something you do out of frantic frustration just to end him with one KO blow.
Right.
Not gonna happen with someone who's been actively training, but it's so cool. It's the battle of the apprentices here.
Yes.
The master and apprentice, right? This is the two apprentices who are going at each other. One who's been keeping up with their training, one who's more like Finn, right? And Force Awakens, just someone who's like, I'm picking this up right now. We don't know the level of force sensitivity that Sabine is, but we learned in episode 2, she sucks. And I love how much she gets dressed down by Huyang. I've known 500 years of Jedi, and you by far are the worst, which is what a takedown.
Not a kind word, but Huyang does not mince words.
No, he doesn't.
He does not have a restraining bolt on him to be like, be nice, or keep it positive.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that kid who bats 10th in your Little League team and you know he's going to strike out, but you're just hoping that like his helmet hits the ball and he gets to take first base.
That was me. I prayed that it would hit me in the helmet, not the shoulder, because I got hit in the shoulder when I was 7 and I never trusted the pitchers.
You know what? That's all it takes. I always say you got to wing your kid with a ball when they're an infant so they get the muscle memory. I had a friend who once was so bad, he spun all the way around and fouled the ball off the back of his bat almost in play, and that would have been the only hit he ever got. Anyway, speaking of hits, episode 2, the second episode, thank God, begins with Sabine waking up in the hospital, detailing the attack to Ahsoka, who I gotta be honest, looks kind of disgusted with her in this scene.
Which she should be. You've done enough. I mean, what a thing to say. You're
you guys
in a
are
hospital.
brutal. What do you mean? She risked it all. She tried her best.
But she didn't have to take it back. She did the worst possible thing. She decoded it, but
Fair
not
enough.
all the way. Her recordings were shot. You should have written it down. It's like leaving your internet passwords right there on your desktop.
I know.
Hide it in a drawer at least.
I guess.
But,
she's not like other girls. I'm not like other guys. We just get it. We get each other's rebel spirits. Okay.
Can we talk about the fact that she got stabbed and survived it? Somewhere Qui-Gon's Force Ghost is like, motherfucker.
Well,
how has medical technology advanced this much over 40 years?
there seems to be a disparity. Now we know Fennec Shand basically is like part Chrysler, right? Like she's got like she also got like an abdominal gunshot.
There's
wound.
a little hamster wheel inside of her
Remember,
gut.
she
and
literally has pistons going in
She
it.
totally
They
does.
show- I have to assume that Sabine now has like the.
No, it was healed over. There was a
That's what they
clear
want- they
scar
want
tissue.
you to
They
think
got
that.
skin grafts. It doesn't make sense. I mean, the bigger crime is the fact that the Grand Inquisitor was able to get stabbed in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that was only like what 8 years after.
You're right.
No, it was more than that because Phantom Menace was there was.
But also,
it was like
Qui-Gon
20
died
years.
immediately.
He died immediately.
I mean, he got like a couple words. He got like "train the boy" or whatever. That was it. But like,
Anyway.
also, I think, but very intentionally, she did get stabbed like
Right.
In
She
the
lost a kidney.
universal sign in movies and TV that you're not going to die when you don't take a shot here or dead center.
Yeah, if it goes
you
to the heart, you're
yeah.
dead. Goes to the head or neck, you're dead.
And also, I think dead center abdomen, you're not looking good either. But
Right.
if it goes to either side of your stomach, you got a great chance.
You can't kill the hamster that's in there.
right,
The hamster
yeah.
dies, we're done.
Yes, all Jedis have a tiny hamster. All right, so after detailing the attack, Ahsoka goes and retrieves one of the heads of the assassin droids. Sabine is able to access its memories and learns that it was made in a shipyard on Corellia.
Did we have to defuse a bomb in a hospital?
I'm
Sorry, we learned nothing from The Dark Knight.
Did we learn nothing from Grey's Anatomy, where we lost
Oh
Kyle
my
Chandler?
God!
Was
Yes!
it Kyle Chandler or Ron Livingston? They look the same to me, but I think it was Kyle Chandler. It was Ron Livingston?
And that's where there was that old like World War II bomb.
And
that
he's
was
walking away
a
and he's
mortar
like,
shell.
and he like waves and then,
And then
the thing goes,
kablooey!
Bam! That was Grey's Anatomy though. If you cared about someone, they were gonna die. Just like real life. Anyway, with the map, Balin, Shin, and Morgan approach an ancient Stonehenge-looking thingy-bob. Morgan does some witch stuff to determine the location of THRAWN in an entirely different galaxy. Balin mentions that's inconvenient. No, he mentions that he's heard stories of this journey. How is all this merch getting put out for this this journey of where this stuff is? Why are there maps? What's going on here? Who's doing all the cartography? Who are these maps? Who's the Magellan out there?
I have answers. We'll get to it.
Okay, but they were always told as fairy tales. And we know when you say things are fairy tales, legends, or ghost stories in Star Wars, it means one thing. It's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sabine is recovering. Thank the Maker. Hera and Ahsoka and Chopper head to Corellia where they meet the totally a good guy foreman of the shipyard, but we know Law and Order, that's bullshit. Who tells Ahsoka that the staff is basically all ex-Imperial, but they only care about money, guys. It's fine. Credits talk and Imperials walk.
I love that. I love that Hera had this moment. Like, I'm a general. Excuse me. There's how many ex-Nazis who have high-ranking positions in every level of government? You mean to tell me? Like, the fact that she was surprised by this information just shows that there's got to be like at least 1,000 people with the rank of general.
Yes.
And then she's just like, I have security clearance. I should be able to get it. And this like desk guy is like, no, we need to get approval. And she's like, I'm a general. I mean, what we learned is that there was Admiral Akbar, who's still there. We saw Home 1, Admiral Akbar's home ship from Mon Cala, and he still hasn't retired.
Yeah.
And which tells you something. I can't retire. Harrison Dula sucks. And she gets this job, she's gonna screw it all over.
Also, old men never retire because when they retire, they die, guys. That's what happens. Look why. That's why Michael Caine is still in movies, all right? We don't want to lose him. If he dies, we'll never have this voice again. Eric, I was completely baffled by this part. Can you decipher this for me?
Yeah, so this is just insane that there are so many ex-Imperial loyal people who are in these ranks. Something's obviously sus about this because a freaking transporter's leaving the shipyard with a freaking hyperdrive that was not approved. And they're like already rushing it out the gate. Right. So Hera's demanding answers. These ex-Imperials just get up and be like, I was about to say something else, but basically imagine if someone right now were to be like, because that's basically what they're doing.
Right.
They scream for the Empire, they pull out some blasters, and immediately Ahsoka's like, I was ready to kill these guys anyway, just based off of the looks on their faces. The pair dispatch with... I
believe that's what's called the find out portion of the F around and find out.
Yes. They dispatch with the Imperials to try to chase down the ship. This is like such a well-directed sequence.
Yes.
This is like classic Rebels. And this is like, I've missed this so much. Just Hera behind the cockpit of the Phantom 2. In the cockpit of the Phantom 2. Chopper's there. This is like the best Chopper. He's flying through all the crap. She's like, did you go through my stuff? He's like, like you can hear Dave Filoni's voice in there. It's so wonderful. But we get this interesting figure of Marok.
Yes.
Or Marok. It's an Inquisitor that it works with Morgan Elsbeth and Balin and Shin. A lot of questions about who this Inquisitor is. We thought it might be the Eighth Brother looking at trailer footage because he has like the similar and stuff. I speculated it might be Barriss Offee, but they have the name of Marok. That's been confirmed. We get another great lightsaber duel. We get a great cape in the wind moment. I mean, just the dueling in these first 2 episodes, incredible.
Yes.
Marok's able to get out of there. Hera and Chopper chase down the transporter. They do this awesome kind of alley-oop, like overhead, throw the tracker on it. split seconds before it jumps into hyperspace. But the hyperdrive is docked into this weird circular ship-like device. They call it the Eye of Sion. Presumably something that can take people through this galaxy-hopping journey. We end the episode with Ahsoka, Sabine, and Hera ready to track them down. Now, so many questions, because based off of that star map from that location where Morgan and Elsbeth was, with the green flame, the Night Sister flame, the witchcraft, she says it's a different galaxy. We have not really seen this in Star Wars canon.
Because it's only a galaxy far, far away, not galaxies.
A long time ago in a galaxy.
A singular galaxy.
Now we're talking about multiple galaxies, and Morgan Elsbeth, when she projects that line from galaxy to galaxy, says a bridge between time and space. And there is a pregnant pause after the word time. Normally when you're talking about this stuff, it's space time. Space comes first, and they just throw it in there just to, tip of the hat to Einstein. But no, she says time first. Now, a lot of you are like, holy shit, are we doing some Indiana Jones style of Destiny? Lucasfilm just loves to go back in time.
Go to Rome.
Rome,
Syracuse. Go to Syracuse. Rome, New York is where Woodstock was. Syracuse, New York is where the Orange play.
Yeah. A lot of people, when this season was coming out, were talking about speculating the world between worlds from Star Wars Rebels. So this refers to something that happens in Star Wars Rebels where Ezra goes through, he goes into this realm that basically spans time. It's another dimension that allows you to see through these portals back in time. Spoiler warning for Rebels, but it's been out for so much time, and you'll see this in our breakdown of season 3 and season 4 of Rebels that will be coming out soon. It allows Ezra to see through time, and he basically goes back in time to the duel between Ahsoka and Vader at the end of season 2. We find out how Ahsoka was able to get out of that, where basically Ezra pulls her away from it, and then she goes back into that moment in time, and that's kind of how she got away. But Dave Filoni's been very cautious with this realm ever since then, because it's basically like the time turner logic of the Star Wars canon. It kind of breaks the rules too much to introduce time travel. So Filoni has described it as like an echo or a shadow of reality. I don't know if we're dealing with the world between worlds. Specifically, we're looking at a star map here. We're looking at ancient map makers. Bailey talks about fairy tales in the Star Wars universe. It's like their version of fairy tales. What we're looking at here is if you played Knights of the Old Republic, part of Knights of the Old Republic is you find these star maps that were built by the Rakatans. The Rakatans is an ancient race, Rakatan. The Rakatan invaders were an ancient race of like these kind of amphibious looking creatures. They were mostly force sensitive. They all died out because these guys were assholes. They had what was called the Infinite Empire. They thought they enslaved so
You can't
many races.
name it that.
Not great guys.
That's like naming your team undefeated.
They ended up destroying each other. But in Knights of the Old Republic, they have these star maps that you track down. So I think these ruins, we have like the ruins that Ahsoka first visits with these broken statues, with the bare feet, with the women. Those were Night Sisters. Those were witches of Dathomir. They built those ruins.
I'm so excited.
But the Stonehenge ruins, they intentionally made it to look like Stonehenge because a lot of people believe that the ancients built Stonehenge as a way to do some astrology and astronomy to triangulate the positions of the stars. And that's what, I believe the Rakatans built these ruins.
That's very cool.
There was this ancient race that we're talking like at least 4,000 years, but even further back, they basically ruled everything for so long. And the interesting thing about them is they were considered to be non-canon as of like 2015 because they were part of the Knights of the Old Republic. They were part of other literary material. So a lot of people are like, this is one of the many things that got lost in fiction. But Filoni loves it. And Filoni's big mission has been to recanonize these things, and he's been doing it gradually. And specifically, the Rakatan invaders got a shout out in Andor. Remember, Luthen Rael was like, this was Kyber, ancient Kyber from the Rakatan invaders. So that was a Pablo Hidalgo thing. You know Filoni signed off on that. Get a mention of the Rakatan into Star Wars canon somewhere, and that's what we're going to learn here.
I love Pablo Hidalgo on Twitter last night was like, I normally don't comment about the shows while they're on the air anyway because people read too far into it. He's like, but especially because of the strikes, I'm not going to say anything about it. But you know he likes seeing some of his stuff getting put out there. And also, you're right. Filoni does it the right way. He breadcrumbs it in, so it's not like all this stuff is back all at once. It's like, here's a couple references. You got to really be into it to like completely lock into it, which thankfully we have some sources here who are really into it.
Well, hey, and if you go back and watch Rebels, you'll notice at the end of all of our Rebels season breakdowns, we include a cheat sheet at the end, and the cheat sheet has just like, yes, please try to watch all of it because it is fun. There are some fun filler episodes. I think they're still fun.
Yeah.
But specifically, every season we single out like 3 or 4 episodes you really need to watch. And 2 episodes from season 2 you have to watch are just the final 2.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Twilight of the Apprentice.
Yeah.
Ahsoka, Ezra, and Kanan go into a Sith temple on Malachor. And an important line at the beginning of that episode, Ahsoka says there is some truth in legends. And it's such a great meta line because you can hear Dave Filoni saying like, you have to pay attention to this Legends material. I consider it important. I'm going to find ways to bring it in. And I think she was referring to like the Sith legends, the fact that there were these ancient Sith and Jedi wars, which we learned about a bit in this episode of Rebels. But I think that has been kind of some truth, like a theme, an undercurrent that Dave Filoni has brought into everything he has done in live action. And that's going to be so true in this show. There is some truth in legends. That's basically what Balin was saying, that these are fairy tales. And then Morgan Elsbeth has that great line was like, well, that doesn't mean that they're not true.
Right.
So I think to answer the question, people were wondering, wait, so is this just a star map that leads to THRAWN? Is THRAWN in another galaxy? And why is he just sitting in a cabin somewhere? Why isn't he moving around?
He's making gourd soup like Thanos.
Yeah, he's just on a farm. He's on a garden planet.
It's like, I did what I wanted.
It's not a direction to a place. It's a direction to a time.
Yeah.
And I believe THRAWN, the reason we haven't seen him, the hyperspace whales took him and Ezra back to the Rakatan Empire era. Imagine Indiana Jones' Dial of Destiny. They're back in the ancient, the siege of Syracuse of the Rakatan Empire, and he is gaining this ancient wisdom, this problematic wisdom, because it believed in slavery back then. I mean, there's a lot of modern, like Empire basically is okay with slavery as well. You know, they enslaved the Wookiees for crying out loud. But that's what
the droids.
Yeah.
Have spoken out about wanting freedom and their own droid bars.
Yeah. Imagine THRAWN has gone back to ancient Rome or these ancient empires, the Babylonians or something like that.
Those weren't problematic, were they?
I mean, everything before 2014 was problematic. But I think, that's where THRAWN has been. He's gaining some wisdom. He's an ancient, wise figure. I think he's going to be brought back to the present.
Do you think him and Ezra have been begrudgingly working together, or do you think they've been hiding? Like Ezra's been like they've been cat and mouse, Tom and Jerrying?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think this is kind of like the wellspring of these hyperspace whales, right? We do see some Purgle in the art of the closing art, and I believe that was on the star map as well. You see these Purgle figures, and then the closing episode's art, I think we need to do a separate video just breaking down the little Easter eggs and clues in those. You absolutely see the Purgle, and I think the Purgle are these hyperspace whales that, again, Filoni keeps bringing back. We learned that Bail Organa wanted to chase Purgle. That's what he said to Leia and Obi-Wan Kenobi. We got the sighting of the Purgle in The Mandalorian, Chapter 17. Yeah, I think that's kind of like, if you imagine Purgle are salmon that make this migratory pattern and they go back to their nesting grounds, I think their nesting grounds are back in this other galaxy in this other time in the Rakatan Empire era.
Maybe it's a mirror galaxy that takes place in a time before.
Or a time in the future and it's Earth. God, please never do that.
Oh, what if it's Westeros?
No.
The Khaleesi, the Ahsoka, the magic. All right.
For the love of God, I never want to see a present day Earth.
That's how I wanted Game of Thrones to end after it got so weird. I just wanted a spaceship to come down at the end and be like, we've been tracking you for over 100 years. We are from a planet called Earth, a similar planet to yours, but no dragons. Give us a dragon. Anyway.
A bit of Battlestar Galactica ending.
Yeah, oh God.
Interesting. Anyway.
We're on a different show. I gotta know. So here's my MVPs of so far of the show. It's Balin and Shin, but I need to know, what is the backstory of Balin and Shin?
Okay, so Balin and Shin were Jedi, or are Jedi. That's an interesting thing. He has that line at the beginning where he impales the New Republic captain of this cruiser and says, I am no Jedi, or we are no Jedi. Definitely a callback to Ahsoka Tano at the end. This, again, Twilight of the Apprentice, where she tells Darth Vader, he's like, oh, revenge, that's not the way of the Jedi. And she goes, I am no Jedi. Which is driven me crazy, the fact that they still refer to her as a Jedi. And she's gone back in some of the Jedi ways in the live action, because I really thought she swore that off. But, he just kind of has different definitions, I think, than we had. But he says that he's not a Jedi, but we know from trailer footage that he knew Anakin Skywalker. He was there at the Jedi Temple back during the Clone Wars and earlier. He's old enough, I think he's roughly around the age I think Anakin Skywalker would be, maybe a bit older than Anakin would be. So he would have been like an elder Jedi. But Shin was not really known by Hu Yang. Hu Yang knew who he was. Based off of the lightsaber. Shin was an unknown, and she has the Padawan braid. So I think we're looking at a mirror situation of Kanan and Ezra. The fact that Kanan was there in the Jedi Order before the Purge, and then found a new Force-sensitive kid and trained him as a mentee. I think that's what Baylan did. He found Shin out there, and I think that will make Shin more extreme than Baylan is. I think Ivana Sakno is so good in the show. Just her rage. John described her as a little Sia girl from the Chandelier.
She reminds me of the I was thinking of from Barry.
The little martial arts girl.
The martial arts girl that
badass.
scales the house. She lemur jumps up in the tree and then gets up in the roof and she's just perched up there
she's so good. So I think Baylan is a former Jedi from the Jedi Order. He's not an Inquisitor, but he's in league with an Inquisitor, which is interesting. I think he was someone who is a hermit. He does it for his work for a bounty. I think he's in league with the Night Sister, but doesn't seem to trust her orthodoxy that much. I don't think he's a devout believer of witchcraft or anything like that. And he seemed to be really bummed that he has to go after Ahsoka Tano. I think he really respected her for leaving the Jedi Order. So maybe he was another person who was falsely accused by the Jedi Order. He parted ways with it. He's another kind of gray Jedi figure. His lightsaber is not red; it is orange, which Dave Filoni has said.
Popsicle orange.
It's a good blood orange color. I think Dave Filoni has said he did that intentionally to show that it's not a purely red kyber crystal, but it's something on the way to it. I think he was someone who had his own kind of falling out with the Jedi Order before the Purge, and he was able to survive it that way.
All right. Well, you mentioned the Night Sisters before. Morgan Elsbeth, we are very excited has been revealed as a Night Sister. Let's talk about that quickly.
Yeah, Mother Talzin was Maul and Savage Press's mother. I love the green flame because that was the color of their witchcraft and their sorcery when they gave Maul his legs, which was really fun. My question is, did Morgan Elsbeth know Maul?
Oh yeah.
Just from being, it's
Kenobi.
How connected is she to that part? Was it part of the same cult, part of the same coven specifically? I think this is just fantastic. I think bringing in back in this kind of sorcery and witchcraft and a type of sorcery that isn't Jedi or Sith sorcery, but it's kind of its own thing. I think viewers are really going to love this. And Diana Lee Inosanto, gone from basically a longtime stunt person to being one of the most interesting characters in Star Wars live action currently. Just amazing to watch.
A real Cliff Booth grow up. Is that Brad Pitt's name in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah, I think she got in a fist fight with Bruce Lee and kicked his ass.
She threw a can of rat-flavored dog food at a hippie.
Whatever.
I'm sorry,
the Manson cult stopped at her house first,
family,
and then
All right, last question. Why hasn't the New Republic done a better job at squashing out the ex-Imperials in places like a shipyard?
I think this is my biggest gripe so far with what Dave Filoni is doing in live action. He's making the New Republic so stupid.
Yeah.
And I get that you have to show the New Republic as flawed, but it's basically they're saying that it's impossible to run a galaxy this big effectively. But it leaves us in a place of is it impossible? Is any kind of civil government impossible then in Star Wars? Are we just in a forever war?
Well,
is that what we're saying about the state of this fantasy
I think it
universe?
kind of mirrors my frustration with the beginning of the second season of Rebels, which is where they're just all complacent to be the rebellion is just a loose network of people that are like-minded, that want to do things, but they all operate independently from each other. And it makes it so that they're pretty easily thwarted a lot by the Empire, despite the fact that they succeed on these minor missions. It's always kind of but the Empire pays these people and these people and these people to make it so it's way more difficult for you. Then they finally win, right? They win the rebellion. Luke Skywalker defeats the Emperor and turns his father back to the light side. It's and then literally a year later, they're the New Republic is just a loose network of like-minded people that can't work together. Like you're saying, it's just it mirrors too much the animated show, and that was like why I thought for season 2 it ends on such a strong note with those last 2 episodes with Maul and Ahsoka and Kanan and Ezra in the Sith Temple. But like a lot of the first 13, 14 episodes are just the rebellion being completely dysfunctional. It's like, yeah, of course, those are the people who are now leading the New Republic.
I mean, the rebellion...
It kind of plants the seeds for it.
The rebellion makes sense for being dysfunctional because they have to live in secrecy and it's hard to be successful. But now that, like, you have... And they've had almost 10 years, it feels like, to figure shit out. And I think this is just, like, it's kind of a tonal thing. I don't think through these, like, little lines and these exchanges, it's enough for me to believe... Like, reading Chuck Wendig's Aftermath and his books... You really do get a sense of, like, oh, it was truly corruption. It was fear that led, like, Leia to have to form the Resistance fleet.
Right.
And she, like, it was really the knowledge that she was the daughter of Darth Vader that led to her political downfall. The politics I get, I just don't get that they would be so dumb to allow
so
people
blind.
to make these hyperspace drives and to put them in charge and not do a better job vetting them. You would think that would be the first, that you would do the most extreme vetting process.
Well, it's like Mandalorian, where it's like Dr. Pershing is like working on Coruscant, and like they have like all the other people are like, it's like the Imperial Rehabilitation Program.
Yeah.
It's like they're all still clearly like the one Katie Hill's character, or not Katie Hill, Katie O'Brien's character is just like barely showing any examples of rehabilitation.
Yeah, I mean, that whole thing, the rehabilitation process just didn't strike me the right way. And I just think Mon Mothma's not this stupid. The fact that Mon Mothma is going to be in this show, and we see how smart she is during Andor, like, the leadership would not be this dumb to allow it to get this bad this way. It'd be one thing if there was, like, if there was some kind of real world analogy of just there were factions of people in their own, like, their own what's it called? Like their own weird estates, their own weird plans that were able to truly do it in the shadows. Yeah. But to do it under the noses of all these people who we have been led to believe are actually pretty smart, competent leaders. Or there wouldn't be some other competent leader who would just be like, Nuremberg, all of you are going to be Nuremberg. I don't care if it's like 40% of you, you're all going to be Nuremberg. I don't know. But I get it. It's just the reality we're living with right now.
Yeah. This is, as Phil Collins said, this is the land we live in. And there's not much love to go around. That's it for this episode of WikiLeaks. Again, Eric's Easter egg breakdown is coming tomorrow.
Or today. We'll see how fast.
Hold on.
But we are breaking down episode 1 and episode 2 separately as 2 different videos. I think episode 1 breakdown might be able to come out today or tonight, whenever you're watching this. But yeah, either way, you'll see it all by like Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday this week.
And you can watch me having a nervous breakdown at the Eden Park Diner on Victory. And I forgot the other cross street. Just look for the diner where a guy's shouting at a Chevy Cruze. Follow me at Tommy Bechtold. Follow Eric at EA Voss. Go ahead and check out Eric's breakdown over on the new Rockstars channel. And while you're watching, check out the gosh dang deep dive. We got an hour plus video about the Dark Knight.
It's 57 minutes, but if you pause it, it's an
hour plus with me scolding children during it. Shut up! Shut up! He's talking about William Fichtner, Buffalo's own. The bank manager. You're making a big mistake, buddy.
You and your friends are dead.
That's right. What is that accent? It's not, you did the right accent. He doesn't talk like that. I've talked to him before. People from Buffalo, we have a little mafia. It's me, it's him, it's Chad Michael Murray, okay? It's Rick James before he died. Anyway.
Follow New Rockstars. Subscribe to WikiLeaks wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for watching.
We have spoken.